Mixed martial arts! Mixed martial arts! How do we like our martial arts? We like it mixed!
Wow. What an introduction. Casey, you might be the most excited person for this card in the entire world. Yes. Fresh off of a memorable UFC 295 event that rocked Madison Square Garden, UFC returns home to the hallowed Apex for UFC Vegas 82. We thought this could be kind of a historic card. This was scheduled to be the final Apex event of 2023, but alas, we'll have one more on December 9th. But this is all about the middleweights. Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig, which should be a very fun main event. We'll talk about the stakes and what this fight means in a matter of moments, but thank you for joining us. I am Mike Heck, joined by my fellow teammates, my friends first, my fellow New Englander, fresh off his trip to New York City for UFC 295, the one and only José Youngs. Jose, how we doing, my man?
Physically, almost better. Nasty bout of COVID right after I got back from New York, but we persevere. Especially for Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig.
Yes, and my best friend, the King of the North, co-host, co-matchmaker of On to the Next One, the Prince of Positivity, and boy, we need it, Mr. Alexander Cayley. AK, what's going on with the weigh-ins right now? Do we have any updates?
You're not getting the positivity. I'm salty. I'm salty about the scheduling of this preview show. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you guys for being on the show. But that that there's weigh-ins going on right now, and I cannot give them my full attention is a travesty. I will be making this. I will be reporting this to HR. But for now, I will try to maintain some semblance of professionalism. Thank you, my best friend. I'll give people live updates of the weigh-ins should anything crazy happen. Lucas Alexander just missed weight. There you go.
He missed weight by how much?
2 pounds.
There, see? AK, you're going to get breaking news music potentially multiple times throughout this preview show.
Great.
This is the role you were always made for. Just popping in with weight misses and weigh-in news during a preview show. So, look, gentlemen, I'm not here to mince words. I'm here to tell you like it is. This main event's going to be fun. Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig. It's going to be chaos for as long as it lasts. There's a couple of decent fights on this card. And I think Jed put it best on BTL AK yesterday when he said, individually, like if each fight was on its own island, like it's not bad, but when you combine them all together, it's just not all that good. So how do you gymnastics score this card, AK? How do you score this one? If UFC 295, I believe you said it would peak at 8.8. Where is this going to peak at?
I mean, this is like, it has to go below 8. This has to be in the 7.6, 7.5 range. And I say this having had a chance to do a deep dive during fight week into some of the matchups and, look into some of the fighters who I might not be familiar with. There's a couple of short notice replacements. So yeah, I mean, some people might say 7.5, 7.4. The number keeps dropping. Is generous. I'm sure I'll peek at the comments in a sec, but I'm sure that they're saying something like 5, 4, lower. When I give a high number, I mean, I think people have to keep in mind it's because we tend to watch, we tend to have to watch all these events anyway. I won't be working this event, thankfully. Sounds like a mean thing to say. But if I were, I would have to be going into it with all those kinds of optimism. So I would set it at 7.4, 7.5. But I think for a lot of fans, if the question is it strictly yes or no, should you stay in on a Saturday night and watch this card? It's a hard no. It's a hard no.
AK, you said something that just isn't true. You said Saturday night. It's not going to be on Saturday night, and that's what bumps this a whole extra point for me. This is probably like 6.2, 6.3, but 2 p.m. Eastern start time automatically bumps it up into the low 7s because early day MMA is the best kind of MMA. Like I said, Jose, I love this main event. I love the fact that these fighters get the opportunity before the holiday season to compete and make some money. So with that being said, I like it for them. But all in all, some good prospects. This is it's a contender series card on steroids in a lot of respects. Where are you at with this one?
I really like the top 3 fights a lot. I don't really hang out with Damon or Jed, so my negative scale is not that far to the right, but I mean, I really like the top 3 fights. There's a lot of fighters I'm very excited to watch on the prelim card. It's obviously not the best fight, and I definitely wouldn't say it's a Contender Series card on steroids. I think this is, if there was a different main event and this current main event was the co-main event and every single fight stayed the same, I wouldn't hate it at all. Like if they put Sadiq Youssef and Edson Barbosa as this main event, I would really like it. I would really, really like it. I'm glad Paul Craig and Brendan Allen are getting 5-round fights, because I think I would, I always say, like, looking at it sporting wise, I know MMA fighting likes to talk about like storylines and intrigue level and this and that. Like, just looking at it the sporting way, because this is a sport. I had a lot of questions about Brendan Allen, and I had a lot of questions about Paul Craig. I'm glad they're getting 5-round opportunities. Brendan Allen's been, chomping at the bits for a high contender fight in a main event spot. Paul Craig, kudos to him. He even asked for Bo Nickel after his last win in middleweight. Obviously didn't get Bo Nickel. I think Bo's a little further away from getting one of these two gentlemen, but all in all, an important fight for a division that all of a sudden, with Israel Adesanya on the shelf for a bit and Alex Pereira going up to light heavyweight, an important fight. I'm not saying these guys are fighting for the title next, but there's a lot of people in that top 10 at 185 pounds that need fresh matchups. Hamzat's allegedly supposed to fight for the title. He's not fighting anytime soon. Kamaru Usman just injected himself into the division. Robert Whittaker needs a fight. DDP's obviously fighting for the title. Jared Cannonier's hurt. So I like activity. So I do like this main event. I wish, December 2nd, we're getting 2 5-round fights in the main and co-main. If they would have thrown another main event or even another co-main event and made it a 5-round fight, I would like this fight. But as it stands, I very much like the top 3 fights quite a bit.
Yeah, Yusuf Barboza headlining this, and then Allen and Craig is the co-main. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good 1-2 punch right there. And like I said, I do like this main event. It's going to be a bit chaotic. Brendan Allen kind of had a tough run, Jose, against the Extreme Couture guys. First, he gets finished by Sean Strickland. Didn't really let that go, and then ended up fighting Chris Curtis and ended up getting finished by Chris Curtis. I know Sean was kind of on his mind heading into that fight, but since then, dude's just been on a roll. He's been just running people, 3 straight finishes. Guy's on fire right now. Like you said, Jose, he wants these big fights, and then Paul Craig jumps on down to 185, gets a quick finish of Andre Muniz in a crazy-ass fight. I really like this matchup here. I don't think there's any way this fight goes to the cards, but you mentioned this division getting really interesting and a lot of these guys wanting fresh matchups. Where does the winner go from here? Would you say they're a winner 2 away? Like, how close to a title shot is the winner of this fight, you think?
I mean, I think they're relatively close just because, Israel's on the sideline. And like I said, Jared Cannonier should be fighting for the title, at least in a number 1 contender fight, but he's obviously hurt. Roman Dolidze obviously said he had a fight coming up. Imavov obviously needs a fight. I know there's a lot of talk about these matchups that are happening, but nothing is official yet. So any of those names that I said are probably next. Obviously not Jared, but, and I doubt Whittaker or Usman will take a fight like this because they're, former champions that they want big names. And I honestly want those two to fight at 185 pounds. But I would imagine one of either Brendan Allen or Paul Craig, whoever wins, I know we're going to give our picks later. And I am actually pretty confident this fight goes to the decision. It's probably not a Dolidze because he has a fight, but maybe the winner of the Dolidze rumored fight. Maybe an Imavov, Kelvin Gastelum has a fight. Well, Kelvin Gastelum's at welterweight now. Who's Chris Curtis fighting? Didn't he just get a fight booked for Toronto?
Burial.
Yeah. So like I said, there's a lot of fun 185 fights coming up. So I don't know because the fight hasn't happened yet, and we all know my favorite saying. I don't need to say it again, but yeah, I have literally no idea. 185 is, for as much hate as the middleweight gets, I think it's kind of fun right now with Israel giving himself time off and Alex leaving and Usman adding himself. 185 is kind of a fun division to matchmake right now.
It is very fun. I feel like, AK, you and I have a matchmaking show. I feel like this is for the Marvin Vettori sweepstakes. Like, there's a very good chance we could get the winner fighting Marvin Vettori. Like, a name, top 5, top 6. Vettori is probably not near a title shot at the moment unless he can run off a few straight wins. kind of feel like that's what these guys are fighting for. I also believe that Brendan Allen needs this one a lot more than Paul Craig does. Like, Paul is just a fun dude. If he wins, loses, people don't care. They just kind of want to see him fight and just get into crazy scraps. But I feel like with where Brendan wants to go, even though he's only 27, I feel like he can't really lose right now if he wants to get into this title conversation. Where are you at with Brendan and then just the stakes of this fight in general?
I actually kind of feel like, as I was writing up the predictions for this card, I actually kind of feel like they're at best 2 fights away, which I mean as a compliment. Which I mean, like, as I do think this is an important fight. I was thinking back to, it wasn't that long ago. It was only 4 months ago that Sean Strickland was fighting Abus Magomedov in an Apex main event that seemed to have very little title implications. Now, it was a different situation because Strickland had a history with Adesanya as far as like verbal, like they had talked about possibly fighting. We knew that there was a screwed up situation with DDP being the #1 contender and not being able to make the date that they clearly wanted Adesanya to fight on. So it's a different situation, but it does remind me a little bit of that as far as like I certainly didn't think Strickland was going to get a title shot off of the Abus win. And yet here we are. These two guys also don't have the growing following of a Sean Strickland. Love him or hate him, he says stuff that gets fans, has been getting fans' attention, and has been turning him into a much more popular fighter. So that's another thing to take into account. Maybe Brendan Allen can make that leap personality-wise. Maybe Paul Craig can make that leap personality-wise. But they're not quite in the same position as Strickland. But I do like this matchup. I do think you're right that they're fighting for the right to fight a more established contender in like a Marvin Vettori, perhaps someone else near the top of 185 can shake loose, but that seems like the obvious name for either guy. That would be a really good call out. I think no matter who wins, should go for Vettori. I know if Brendan Allen wins, he'll probably call for Strickland again. He's called for that rematch many, many, many times. So that's to his benefit. Brendan's a little bit further ahead. That's to his benefit that there is at least a history with the champion, even if the first fight wasn't particularly competitive, but it was a long time ago now. You could sort of sell a rematch. Craig is a little bit more of a wild card. He could be a top 5 middleweight. He could just be that win over Andre Muniz was super impressive. Or he could be, again, a guy who kind of lingers around the top 10 and never quite makes it up. But I think in a best case scenario, one of these guys could be fighting for the title in 2024. Middleweight is a very kind of rocky division right now. So with Izzy just removing himself from the equation, Robert Whittaker, I hate to say it, maybe closer to the end of his career, than his prime. And we don't know, he might just be chasing big fights. He might not want to fight a Brendan Allen or a Paul Craig, and they may get to just leapfrog over him because of that. So it sounds crazy, and it feels like this main event's a bit of a throwaway, but it does feel like we could be talking about this fight 8 months from now if either of these guys gets a title shot, and noting this is like the beginning of that run.
I really hope Brendan
Mike,
go ahead, please.
Why do you think Brendan Allen needs this win more?
Because I think Paul's a lot more interesting to the casual fan. And
he's also 35, and Brendan Allen's not even 30.
No, I understand that, but it's just
that's like the only thing that throws me for a loop. Like if Paul Craig loses, I don't think he's fighting for the title ever.
Right, but I don't think that matters though. Paul's one of those guys that almost defies rankings in a lot of respects. Like he's like Derek Lewis. Like we're not looking at Derek Lewis to fight for belts. We just want to see the dude fight and get into crazy scraps, and we'll watch them all, just like Paul Craig. Paul Craig could go on a run. He could win this fight and maybe go on a run. It'll be a cool story if he goes and fights for the belt, but even then, he's still a long ways away. He's probably 2 or 3 wins away from that happening. But even if he loses this, there's the Bo Nichols plant seeds that have already been planted. That fight could happen. Even if he loses that, no one will care. They're just like, dude, Paul Craig's fighting. I'm going to watch. I don't know. Brendan has really earned that just yet from outside of us. Like, I think Brendan's been on a nice run. I think one of the things that kind of holds Brendan back is just, I really hope I really hope he doesn't call for Sean Strickland. Please don't.
He might.
You know how I feel about this. He's probably going to.
I
just don't want to see him like get left behind. I just don't. Just if he calls for Marvin Vettori, like that's a great call out. It's a nice, realistic call out, and it's probably a fight he could get. I just don't want to see him like overshoot his shot, because when you get this close, it does matter. I know, Jose, you don't necessarily agree with that all the time, that call-outs mean something, and the UFC doesn't typically make fights based on call-outs. But look up Bilal Muhammad right now. Bilal Muhammad is partly in the position he's in right now because he's misstepped with the microphone in front of his face. And now I just don't want to see Brennan in the same position, if that makes any sense.
Mike, can I ask you, do you think Brendan, if with a big win on Saturday, does he become can he become the backup? Can he become the backup for UFC 297? Because I don't think they would trust Hamzat. I don't think Hamzat can be trusted to be a backup. I don't think he'd want to be a backup. He's hard enough to get in the cage as it is. So other than that, wouldn't Brendan be the guy to get the call? It's only 2 months away. Assuming it's not some all-out war that shelves him for a long time, doesn't get any like crazy cuts or anything. That could be a possibility for him, right? He could be the backup.
Maybe they could go to Whitaker as the backup.
Ooh.
I know they could do that. I mean, there's lots of ways you can go right now. They could call on Brennan. I don't think they'll call, like you said, I don't think they'll call on Hamzat. They could call on Kamaru Usman to be the backup. Like that could happen too.
The classic, we feel like Kamaru, might have won that fight, or Hamzat didn't impress as much. Usman's a draw. Yeah. Anything's in play with middleweight. There is no clear hierarchy at middleweight right now. There is no like line of like, oh, this guy should definitely, besides DDP getting it. After him, it's like, I don't know who is like the next guy for sure.
This is the best middleweight has been since I got to MMA fighting. I can tell you that right now. This is the most interesting it's ever been in quite some time with all of these names up there. So we'll see who can sort of state their case to be more at the top of that list. Jose, we'll get your official pick right now. Brendan Allen, massive favorite here, minus 425 according to DraftKings. Come back on Paul Craig plus 330. Who gets this one done, Jose?
Probably Brendan Allen by decision. We have two very high-level grapplers fighting each other, and normally when you get two very high-level grapplers, especially they're both very good offensively grappling, but I think what they thrive in is when their opponents make mistakes and they capitalize on it. I don't think either man is going to make a mistake against the other one, so normally when you get matchups like this, it kind of turns into a sloppy kickboxing fight, which is fine and a lot of fun to watch. And if that does happen, I think just Brendan Allen is not a spectacular striker. I just think he's a better striker than Paul Craig. I think Paul Craig's biggest fault when he fights is when he gets punched hard, his reactions are so visceral. Like he kind of closes his eyes and makes faces, and obviously that doesn't look good when when there's three people judging a fight. I just think he doesn't take damage well. And obviously Brendan Allen has been finished. I just think Brendan Allen is a slightly better striker than Paul Craig. Paul Craig, he tries to he always tries to take fights down, a la the Johnny Walker fight, and he got knocked out trying to secure a takedown. Obviously, in fights like Andre Muniz and Shogun Rua, he got on top of you and just kind of beat the soul out of them. I don't think he's going to do that with Brendan Allen. I think Brendan Allen is a very good reactive grappler. Just like Paul Craig. So if this does turn into a sloppy kickboxing fight between two black belts, then I think Brendan Allen pulls off the decision.
AK, what do you think? Are you with Brendan Allen and Jose going Brendan Allen via the magic of the scorecards here? Do you agree with that?
Firstly, we just had Euros Medic weigh in.
Uh-oh.
I'm hearing now. He made it 171, but he was the first fighter today to need the box of redemption. So anyway, all you Euros Medic fans out there, breathe a sigh of relief. 171, it's all good. His fight with
all right
Muktabek Oralbai is official. I think. Wait, don't. No, hold on. I forgot. I had to check. I forgot if Muktabek waited. Yes, okay, it is official. Good. Music was fine. Thank you, Casey. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go the other way for the UFC Vegas 82 main event. I said Paul Craig was a wild card. It just feels like it's not a trap fight because I know we said Brendan's pretty heavily favored, but I do think there's enough people out there giving Craig a chance. It's just so unclear what he can be at 185. It was kind of unclear what he was at 205 because 205 he picked up some big wins. Got some very memorable finishes. He has wins over Ankalaev and Jamal Hill at 205, right? So we thought like this guy could be contender. He was ranked at some point, both in our rankings and the UFC's rankings. I think he was higher in the UFC. I want to say he made it somewhere in the top 10. I think for us, he maybe landed around top 15. So we didn't know what he was at light heavyweight. He was a wild card there. Now you insert him into this middleweight picture. Yes, he's a bit up there in age. Like I said, they're around 35 years old. But I don't think that's a death sentence at middleweight. Middleweight is, it's not quite like light heavyweight and heavy where you can be up there in your late 30s and doesn't mean much. Like there is sort of still an athleticism gap between Paul Craig and some of the up and comers at 185, but it's not that big. So I like his chances. I definitely don't see it going to the cards. I like Paul Craig to finish. I will say Paul Craig knockout. Let's bring back some third round Craig magics. So I'll go round three. Maybe a competitive fight. He might be down on one of the cards, comes back in the third, and finds a way to KO Brendan Allen. And let me just say, I'm doing a little bit of reverse jinxing here for Brendan Allen, because I picked him to lose his last two fights. After the before the Andre Muniz fight, or was it before the Bruno Silva fight? Before one of these fights, he was quite amused by my prediction, and I was one of the so-called media members he called out. So I will continue to pick against you, Brendan Allen, and perhaps this will be a bit of reverse luck, and you'll get another win, because I definitely picked him to lose to Bruno Silva as well, and he pulled that one off. So I am officially picking Paul Craig. Wink.
I'm gonna go with the former middleweight champ. I think he is the former middleweight champ. He did win. He did defeat Krzysztof Jotko to earn that honor and distinction, but yeah, I think this little finish run he's on has kind of gotten that belt vacated from him. I think he finishes. I think Brendan Allen's probably live for a knockout here. Like, again, two very good grapplers, but Brendan Allen's striking has gotten a lot better. Him going to Kill Cliff was a brilliant move. You saw it in the Bruno Silva fight. He hurt him on the feet before he got the finish. Club and sub is also in play, but I kind of think Brennan gets a ground and pound finish here. Paul is a wild card. I think it happens in round 2, because honestly, if this fight goes to round 3, this is going to get real hairy, because I think Paul Craig gets a little more live the longer this fight goes, because he is such a wild card. But I do think Brennan's on a really good run right now. I do think his striking has evolved immensely, night and day since the Chris Curtis fight. It's not where he probably wants it to be. It's probably not at a level where, he'd feel great in a rematch with a guy like Sean Strickland or even to Dricus Du Plessis. But boy, considering where he was in that fight, even like the Kyle Dacus fight, to where he is now from a striking perspective, vastly improved. So I do think Brendan Allen is live for a KO/TKO. So I'll go Brendan Allen TKO round 2 to, I think that's 5 in a row for Brendan Allen. So it should be a wild fight. I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot to like there. We got, as Jose mentioned, we get Jake Matthews versus the up-and-coming Michael Morales. That should be fun. Good little step up for the 24-year-old. Chase Hooper, Jordan Levitt getting after it at 155. I think this is freaking brilliant matchmaking. I have literally no idea how this fight's going to go. Peyton Talbot making his UFC debut. Biggest favorite on the card, minus 750 over Nick Aguirre. Amanda Ribas back against Luana Pinheiro. AK, has Luana Pinheiro hit the scales yet?
Luana Pinheiro has not appeared at the scale yet. Her opponent, Amanda Ribas, has. Amanda successfully made weight. We're still waiting on Luana Pinheiro.
Yes. We have the aforementioned Uros Medic versus McTybeck Orabai. AK, would you be surprised to know that the newcomer Oralbai is the favorite here against your?
I would not be surprised. I have seen some Oralbai tape. The dude is
he's a
hitter. The dude's a hitter. Like he is a finisher. Like this dude.
This is a fight that this is not reaching the judges' scorecards.
No,
that's for sure.
No.
Has Medic ever reached the scorecards in his MMA career? I know he hasn't in the UFC.
All his wins are by finish. I don't know if he's lost a decision, but all his wins are by.
No, I know because I'm pretty sure he's only lost to Jalen, and I know that was a rear naked choke, like pretty quick too.
No decisions. He has never gone to the cards in his entire career. Someone's definitely going to bed.
He's a good talker. You can ask him 2 questions, and you'll have a 15-minute interview.
His opponent. 1 win, 1 loss to it. Went to the cards, and everything else is a finish. That is gonna be a scrap. Very much looking forward to that. Look, there's a lot of prospects on this card. We got Christian Leroy Duncan back taking on Dennis Tolulian. Mick Parkin trying to build upon the momentum of one Tommy Aspinall against Caio Machado. A couple of Contender Series vets. Lucas Alexander missing weight as a minus 535 favorite. against Jeka Sarag. Lucy Pudilova.
I
Eileen
should say my
Perez.
best friend.
Where are we at?
Sorry, my best friend.
Yes,
I
please,
think
please.
Lucas Alexander is going to weigh in again. So I guess we can't
okay.
quite say he's missed weight, but not looking great so far.
Missed
Not
on the
looking
first attempt.
2 pounds over on his first attempt. Yeah.
We have a women's bantamweight fight on the slate right now. Lucy Pudilova, who I believe is ranked in the MMA fighting rankings. Is that accurate?
Tied for number 13.
Wow. This doesn't happen all that often.
I know.
So get excited. Taking on Eileen Perez, who is a pretty big favorite. Nicholas Mota back against Trey Ogden, and Charles Johnson, Rafael Estevam will kick off the festivities at 2 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, look, I'm not here to tell. We may not be giving it like a high rating, but this isn't going to be a bad watch. Like if your day is planned upon sitting down on your sofa with some food at 2 p.m. Eastern to watch these fights, I think you're going to have a good time.
Bro, I'll watch Jonathan Pierce fight anybody, and
I love that fight.
Oh my
JSP,
god, I can't believe. Like I'm the big like prelims versus main card doesn't matter on these type of things because it's essentially just one long card. It's from ESPN Plus to ESPN Plus with a slight commercial break in the middle. But Jonathan Pierce deserves to be way higher. That dude is so violent and so fun to interview and so. No.
No,
he should be because Michael Morales. I think Michael Morales is so good. I think he's the real. I think they're trying to make him a thing, especially if like Cheeto wins the title and Michael Morales is there. Like they're gonna try to make Ecuador a thing. I know MMA fighting loves Jake Matthews, not Jose.
No.
Whoa, we got off that.
No,
a long time ago.
But I think Chase Hooper, Jordan Levitt should maybe slot down, and JSP should be right. He should be third from the top because Michael Morales is so good, and Jake Matthews is. I'm not a huge fan as a fighter. Fun interview, and I like his tattoos. I think they're actually very well done. I think this is a very good test for Michael Morales. I like this matchup a lot, but Michael Morales is the opposite. I think he loves his tattoos, and he has every single MMA tattoo you'll ever think. I'm pretty sure he has a tiger wearing Spartan armor, which is just everything you want in an MMA fighter.
Yeah. I mean, I get why Morales is in the spot. Like they're trying to get him over. But to me, the second most interesting fight on the card is Pierce and Brito. Like JSP coming off the injury. How's he going to look? He's supposed to fight Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah, it was.
I think.
Go ahead. Okay.
Okay,
now you go.
The 3 fights ahead of the main event are all kind of, I think, try to get people over fights because Michael Morales, obviously, like we said, blue chipper. Chase Hooper, we were all kind of surprised. We've been talking about the odds all week. He was like a 2-1 favorite. I don't know if it went down.
-205.
That's a bit surprised. So they must know something we don't. I mean, I think it's a good matchup on paper for Jordan Levitt. But anyway, so they like him a lot, obviously. And Peyton Talbot, I honestly didn't know much about him, but like you said, the biggest favorite on the card apparently. So they must see something in him. And by the way, Luana Pinheiro has made weight, so her fight with Amanda Ribas is now official. So
the Michael Morales fight is fun because I actually do like his progression up the every fight seems slightly better. Mm-hmm. Like obviously Ian Gary's done that. Hamzat obviously got the rocket right away, but I like how these welterweight guys are slowly I'm pretty sure his first UFC fight was Trevin Giles, which is a tough fight. And he won that. And I'm pretty sure he knocked him out. And then he beat co-main event fighter, Adam Fugit. Yep. Adam Fugit fought Michael Malott in the co-main event, if I remember correctly. And then beat Max Griffin. Those are 3 tough cats. So I think Michael Morales wins this. You know, there's rumors of certain pay-per-views happening certain places at the beginning of 2024. I think there's a very specific one that we can't really talk about until it's confirmed. I think he'd be a great slot as a prelim fighter on that one.
There you go.
Lucas Alexander. Lucas Alexander has officially missed weight, so I guess he either did not weigh again or came in. You hate to see it. We don't know status of his bout with Jeka Saragi pending, as is purse penalty if the bout does proceed to catch weight. So hopefully everything sticks together. I'm surprised Jeka. Look at some of the odds here, guys. Jeka's a huge fate, plus 400. He looks terrible against Angelo Jubilee, and I thought he was going to beat Angelo Jubilee. So maybe
that's why he's a big fat underdog.
Oh, he's under. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw minus.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
dude.
sorry. I see. Obviously, plus
Alexander's the
400.
minus
Okay.
535
Whoa.
favorite.
I saw. Okay, that makes way more sense. I saw minus 400. Yes, you're right. It is plus 400. Oh my gosh, I was like, that seems insane.
I was gonna say, I need to
That should
alert.
not
I
be.
need someone should alert the betting institutions if he is now a minus 400 favorite.
Okay.
Something is terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Something is terribly wrong.
And this
All right.
2-pound weight miss for Lucas Alexander tells me he did not try to cut weight again, and probably and because he didn't show up that late either, so he showed up like an hour in. So that feels like a strategic weight miss to me. Like they could have tried to cut more, but they were like, nah, let's just stop it too. Take the fine. Let's go. Yeah. So
we'll give him 20% and we'll take the win bonus home.
It's not looking good for Jekka. It's not looking good for Jekka.
Yes. Casey, come on in. We'll take some questions. There's obviously this card. There's a lot going on in the wonderful world of the UFC coming out of UFC 295. There's possibly the final Bellator event coming up later on today.
The card of the weekend.
Definitely the card of the weekend. Definitely has the fight of the weekend.
Oh,
that's for sure.
I'm super excited to watch that. I'm super excited to sit home and watch the final Bellator card on Showtime at least tonight. I'm actually very hyped for that card. Very hyped.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
But questions, we have very little questions about this card actually.
Not
this is the most interesting and maybe the most relevant.
Mr. T, is this the first time we've ever had two fighters with two first names headline a UFC event?
No, right at Frankie Edgar, BJ Penn.
Frankie Edgar, BJ Penn. Yeah, Penn. Yeah,
Penn counts. Yeah. Penn tracks. Yep.
Technically, anything can be a first name when you think about it, but I understand.
I've never met a Penn. Like, hey,
Penn Jillette. Penn Jillette. It's even spelled the same way.
Penn.
Yeah, he's like a celebrity. It's not a real person. Like I've never watched.
All right, so I have MMA fighting like this is MMA fighting likes to move the goalpost. MMA fighting likes to move the goalpost, but the answer is Frankie Edgar, BJ Penn. I guess if you want, because there's been a couple senators whose first name is Johnson, Demetrius Johnson, Tim Elliott would be another one. Other than that, I can't really.
That's a silly first name. Penn's a silly first name. I want standard
Penn
first names.
Standard
first name.
He wants. I mean, Casey would like anglicized white middle American names headlining UFC events. I mean, it's Dana White's promotion.
Dude, that's what I'm all about. Jose finally got me. That's what I am all about.
I mean, look at that hat. Look at that hat. Me. He's from. I mean, you're from Texas, right? That tracks.
Me and my grindcore hat. Okay.
No, I'm just saying, isn't it? It's camo. That's what I mean. Like people don't know what grindcore is in the chat.
They will. I bet somebody does.
Yeah, probably. It's MMA. We like silly things.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast about napalm death today. So yeah. All right. So okay, Edgar Penn, and they did it. How many times did they do it? 3 times.
3. I think only 2 of them were main events though, because the first one was in Abu Dhabi as a co-main.
Oh yeah. And the third one, we all cried.
Yeah, and I guess Johnson. There are Johnson first names, so Demetrius Johnson, Tim Elliott. That was the main event, right? Yeah. I guess that could technically be one too. But that is an interesting question.
I love that. We had the right guy here for this. Jose just nails it. That's it.
That's it.
That's the only question.
No, someone asked. Do you have the one
that?
I pinned it? I pinned it to the top of the YouTube. Case, did you see that?
What is it?
Is this the worst? Is this the worst card of 2023?
I don't want to be so negative. I don't want to be so
I
negative.
don't mind. I don't mind.
Why do we like? That's like when people like, who's the most overrated fighter? It's like, why do you want to talk like that?
Who's the fighter who sucks ass the most? Is the question I want to answer.
But like what he says, which fighter sucks ass? He's not talking about fighting ability. He's talking about the literal act.
Literal question.
I don't think this is the worst.
No, I don't. I had to look back. I cheated.
It is, and I don't if ever agree with Dana White's promotional tactics, but I do agree. Sometimes the fights on paper look like trash, and then the fights are a lot of fun. It's the fights like when we had the Misha Tate Caitlin Vieira fight card, like that fight card on paper looked very bad, and the fights were very bad. And those are the ones that stick out. It's the ones that are a lot of fun that don't look good on paper that we never really talk about.
I think this card will at least give people finishes on the prelims, which people like. That's always a fun
Mhm.
thing. You got like 3 or 4 memorable finishes. And again, that's usually a sign of, as the odds are kind of showing, maybe some mismatches. But this could work out really well for the UFC. And then we said on the main card, there's some showcase fights. So, but I still say, again, I'd never define a card by its amount of finishes. I don't care if,
No.
like a 2/3
Yeah, I
of this
agree.
card isn't finishes. It doesn't mean it's a great card. It means it may be easy to watch, but it doesn't mean it was a great card. It doesn't mean it was a memorable card. I'm just looking back at some of the previous ones this year. This Blanchfield Andrade fight card was pretty. The fight was amazing. Great headliner. Much stronger
Yeah.
headliner than this. But that card is rough on paper.
Well,
Paga, Jordan Wright, Pogues, Josh Parisian, Praknia, William Knight, and in practice also did not like.
Well, I think the problem with this card too is just the stakes. I mean, we had kind of like, does Allen or Craig need to win more? We're like, yeah, I guess they both need to win. You know, it wasn't.
Mhm.
We're kind of, you know, it's the fights are important, obviously, to the individuals. Everyone gets a paycheck, and you know, half these fighters move slightly closer to a title shot.
The home Bueno Silva card was a tough hang.
I was gonna ask. I missed that card. I was unfortunately in Japan traveling. You know, terrible. But I missed that card, and I'm looking at it on paper. This did not look. This card is not jumping.
But
out at me.
Homeboy Silva, even that had the good finish, and there was high stakes. The winner got a title shot. There's nothing.
did see the
high
goat.
stakes.
I
We did see
mean,
the goat.
there was no winner. Technically.
Don't
you
ever
Someone
say
got their
that.
hand raised, and they
Don't
got a
you
title
ever
shot.
say that, Jose. That win is counted officially by the MMAfighting.com staff. All right, that is an official win. I don't care what the commission says.
Is this? I guess is this one of the outside the top 2 fights? Are there any top 15 fighters on this card? Oh, I
Yes.
guess
Yeah.
he must.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Luis
there is.
Pudilova.
How dare you?
Oh,
Did you say? Oh, you said you mentioned Pinheiro and Hebus. Pinheiro and Hebus. Hebus is in our
JSP's a fire, is he not?
He's close. He's close. He was supposed to fight Bryce Mitchell. He was going to absolutely be ranked if he beat Bryce Mitchell.
I wouldn't. If JSM wins, I would be. I don't think Diego Lopes is gonna get the Bryce Mitchell fight just yet. I don't think Bryce Mitchell would take that because he seems to be wanting to, fight relatively close to the top 7, top 5. I would love JSP versus Diego Lopes. That would be such a violent fight.
That's a good call.
That would be such a, especially if it's like a main event in Mexico City in February. Oh my God. Huh?
I went Lopez versus Alexander Hernandez as a nice little step up. A known name who's fought good dudes, kind of a veteran. When the name would mean something in the resume. I just don't want to. I don't want to slow roll Diego Lopez, but I don't want to rush him too quickly either.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Give him like one more established name outside of the top 15, and then we could start talking about those other fights. But they clearly have something with him. Like he's over.
I tell you what, of all the fighters, like he got the one of the biggest reactions at MSG, especially for the ceremonials. It's awesome to see.
It's incredible. What a year that man has had. He might be the rookie of the year for MMA fighting this year. It's very possible.
That's a good shout.
We don't have to answer this formally. Forrest Daniels, Forrest, we love you, is asking, how's a UFC card with 14 fights a bad card? Gratitude, people. And listen, if you like a lot of fight, you're gonna love tonight's Bellator card because it's got 16 fights on it.
16 fights.
We've had some Bellator cards with like 19
so
fights. So Forrest, I wish more fans had your attitude because Bellator would be the #1 promotion in the world right now because they just load those. They just shovel.
They have so many. They have so many
gullet.
fights. They have so many fights. They put on fights after the main event.
That is how many fights they have. Keep this energy. Where has this energy been?
I thought we wanted fighters to get paid. This is a good thing, people. Right?
Yeah.
UFC 295 at Madison Square Garden didn't even have 14 fights. At 13.
And that was crap compared to this card. This card has 14 fights. This card's better.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Come on,
You're
man.
right.
It's a numbers game, baby. Numbers.
13's too many.
Let's talk real quick because who cares about them? But the most important fight of the weekend.
Is Big Tuna fighting this weekend? Who you got for Pettis versus Patchy Mix? Man, this is a great fight.
What does MOV mean?
I'm not sure what that is. I'm just gonna ignore that part.
Mauve?
I'll try
I thought that was awesome. I thought that was Amasov, but it's not Mauve, so I'm not sure.
Scott, what is MOV? You're still in the comments. What is MOV?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I can't.
Most objectively violent. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
It's a good
Go
one.
ahead, guys. Go ahead with your picks.
Probably Patchy. I think Patchy is the most underrated and underappreciated fighter in all of MMA right now. No, Amazov is so good too. But
I
think Pettis might actually be the most underappreciated fighter in all of
that's
MMA
true.
right now.
I mean, by that definition, Sergio, who is technically the reigning champion, would be more underappreciated. But
and my knockout
this is
of the year in 2021. 2021.
Yeah, 21.
I mean, Patchy's knockout of Rufian Stas has got to be on the short list too.
That was my. I think that might have been my number 2 knockout last year.
That was this year. That was this year.
That was this year. Oh, it's this year.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
And that might. Ooh,
that was his last fight.
Oh, you're right. That's gonna be 1 or 2.
I don't know if it'll even be in my top 3, but it's close to my top 5.
I think it's freaking incredible.
Yeah. I think Patchy's gonna win, but I think it's gonna be.
I'm picking Patchy, but Sergio Pettis shocks me all the time.
I know. Sergio's performance against Patricio, I thought Patricio was going to wash Sergio.
Me too.
Man.
And Sergio just looked great. He just looked great. People didn't look bad. Sergio looked amazing.
Okay.
Also, why can't Sergio get a main event? This is the second fight in a row. He should be the main event.
It just came to me. This is what's going to happen. Sergio Pettis is going to. Sergio Pettis is going to win.
MOV is method of victory. We got it.
Sergio Pettis come from behind. Decision win.
Sure.
Patchy's going to come out hot. He's going to come out red hot. He's going to win the first 2 rounds. He's going to be winning some of the third. And then Pettis is going to start finding himself. He's going to start finding his range. He's going to start landing shots. Patchy's going to get a little bit tired. Pettis is going to turn up the volume. And he's going to eke out a somewhat controversial decision, but it's going to be one of the best Bellator fights of the year. This fight is going to deliver in spades.
Hope so.
But Pettis has got to sneak it out. And this doesn't mean that I don't think Patchy is still one of the best bantamweights in the world. I think this is going to be one of those kind of learning experiences for him. I think Patchy's going to start off so good, maybe almost finish Pettis, maybe have him in some tough spots. But I don't know. This kind of screams like it's going to be like the Archuleta fight in some respects. I think it's going to be something like that, but better.
I'm going.
That was
Patchy,
a good fight. Archuleta mix was a great fight too.
That was a great
Tremendous fight.
I'm going Patchy by decision, but I keep picking against Pettis, and he keeps proving me wrong. Yeah, I didn't think he'd beat Pitbull, and there you go. Pettis. I didn't think he'd beat Hiraguchi.
Nope.
The man keeps finding a way. Listen, he gets his hand raised at the end. That's what matters. By the way, we have a second weight miss. A very unhappy looking Rafael Estevam stepped to the scale, and you just knew he wasn't going to make it. I don't think he bothered with the box. 128, so 2 pounds over the non-title flyweight limit.
So who's left? Do you have anybody left?
We're still waiting on Eileen Perez, but I'll be honest, this is women's bantamweight, so I just feel like, I don't know, I just don't like her chances of it's not good, guys. It's not good.
She's just not gonna
all I
come.
want is a ranked women's bantamweight fight. Is this too much to ask for?
You got one. You got one next week. You got one next week or 2 weeks.
For now, as Jose would say, yeah, we've got one. We'll see. I thought we had one on Saturday.
Are Misha Tate and Julia Avila both not ranked? Are they both out of the rankings?
Misha is ranked in our. It actually is ranked in our ranking. Okay. I think we all decided.
Julia was top 10 before she left to make a baby.
Yeah. Correct.
Yes. That's gonna be a fun.
I'm super excited for Tate Avila. I'm super excited. I was a big fan of Julia Avila, and I'm very excited for that fight.
I pulled up my knockouts of the year, and I have I have mixed KO and Stotts at number 4. So top 5, but not top 2.
It's gonna be tough.
We'll give our list later.
It's gonna be tough beating Izzy.
Yeah. It's gonna be tough beating. I mean, I have Gaethje over Poirier at number 2.
That's a good one too. Yeah, that's a good one too. There's a lot of good ones. Yeah. Benoit Santini is on that list probably now after he head kicked Matt Frevola halfway across the freaking.
I mean, I have Bonfim just literally melting Terrence McKinney at.
There's a lot of good ones.
5.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
And I'm definitely gonna have in my top 10, maybe top 5. I gotta think about it. I forgot his name right now. The Japanese kid who's the 45 champ, who knocked out that guy from the up kick and did 20 punches.
Oh,
in
yeah,
his
yeah,
guard.
yeah.
Suzuki.
Chihiro.
Yeah, Suzuki, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He's sick.
Yeah, that kid
That was
is
nasty.
good. Oh yeah. All right.
Juan Archuleta wants to fight him. That's a super fun fight.
Excited. Is he officially
I
a
love that
full-on Ryzen fighter now?
I think so.
Yeah.
Or at least, I mean, yeah, absolutely. He seems to love it there.
The Mexican that walks out with a conquistador helmet, still
That's
so
it.
bizarre to me.
That's his name.
That's so bizarre. C'est la vie.
All right. Any more questions?
Take a couple more. If we have any.
Let's focus on these cards, people.
We will have a Q&A tomorrow, so we can answer all the
we'll-
other weird questions.
We'll go a little more broader tomorrow.
Since everyone seems to be jumping on the Jed Meshew, John Jones gaslight movement, we can discuss that tomorrow.
It's a powerful movement.
Oh,
Question to the panel: which undefeated fighter on this UFC card loses their 0? Uses their
Okay, let me see.
I mean, you would have to assume Michael Morales probably has the highest chance because Jake Matthews is such a veteran fighter, such a veteran fighter.
at only 29 too. Only 29.
which is crazy.
He's
Every
at-
time I see it.
It's crazy, but since we saw how the careers of Jordan Meade and Rory McDonald have played out, having a crap load of fights at such a young age has always been kind of freaky to me.
I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna say Luana Pinheiro, who's not undefeated but is undefeated in the UFC. I think obviously she has one of the toughest Amanda Hebus. Because who are the other actual undefeateds? Peyton Talbot and I think Esteban. I think
Mick Parkin is undefeated.
is he undefeated? Stop it.
7-0.
Undefeated heavyweight Mick Parkin. Oh my
Dude,
god.
I think honestly,
I'm gonna
if we
say
didn't talk
him.
about-
I'm gonna say him,
Yeah.
by the way, only because it's heavyweight and anything can happen.
Yeah, I think Esteban. I think Charles Johnson is better than his UFC record
Yes.
shows because he's fought
Yes.
some extremely talented people.
He's good. Yeah, he's
He's
good.
so
He just,
good.
He just loses. He's just not quite. He's
I mean,
he's been a really
yeah.
good opponent. But,
and he's lost close fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
That's a good
Esteban's probably
pick.
it.
That's a good shout.
Honestly, I would not be surprised if all three lost. But still, dang, Chris Leroy Duncan's on this card too. How did we not talk about him? That's like he's very talented too.
his
Who's he
last fight
supposed to fight?
was so discouraging though. I was so bummed out by his last fight. I thought, and again, everyone can have an off night, but I was like, oof.
I mean, Armand
he's supposed to
Petrosian is
fight,
very good. Supposed to fight Cesar Almeida, right?
Yeah, Cesar Almeida. I was looking forward to that one. I liked what I saw from Almeida on the Contender series.
I just hope
37.
if Christian Leroy Duncan wins, I hope it's not because like his debut is against Dusko, and I was very excited for that fight. But then Dusko got hurt in the middle of the fight, so it was kind of like a weird. It was also it was like very early into the fight, right?
Yeah, like it was definitely in the first round. It was pretty quick, was it not? Yeah,
And I liked his because Christian Leroy Duncan was supposed to, who was like 5-0, was supposed to fight Jesse Taylor, who has had like more fights than anyone in the history of MMA.
Yeah.
He was supposed to fight Jesse Taylor in like Cage Warriors. So he's like, what does Dusko have that Jesse Taylor doesn't? I'm like, I mean, that's a very good question. And then we never got to a real answer.
Dude, the story of Jesse Taylor is going to be a fascinating one to tell.
It's one of a kind,
boy.
that's for sure. We had an Eileen Perez appearance at the weigh-ins.
She showed up.
She did 136.5, half over the limit. So, and it looks like they're just taking the scale. They've taken the scale away. So I think that is official. I know Lucas Alexander and Esteban are both official. I don't think we'll see Eileen get another chance, but I'm not sure. I can't say that for sure yet. But not great. Not great.
Well, there you have it.
Oh, before we
Oh, that's a bummer. Let's not end on that. Yeah, let's not end on that.
Okay. Yeah. So before we check out, tonight, watch LFA on UFC Fight Pass. My teammate, big ass Cody Davis, will be defending his flyweight championship belt. And this is back-to-back, his second main event for LFA. And he is fighting, what is this gentleman's name? Enrique Chapolin, and it's in Phoenix, right down the street from Jose. So Jose can make it.
I
know
was
you-
going to go. I was going to go because LFA literally walking distance from my apartment, but I am
Oh,
still
wow.
very sick.
Yeah, I figure. Yeah,
If
yeah.
the-
Actually,
if
stay home,
there's-
stay home.
If there's ever, whenever LFA does stuff in Phoenix, I normally just go because I rarely get to go to MMA fights as a fan, and there's always a lot of UFC fighters walking around. I had tickets, but unfortunately, I do not want to get anyone else sick.
Yeah, that is you're being a good citizen.
Two notes here, Casey. Two
Cody-
notes here. Cody Davis, your teammate. Yes, he's facing Eduardo Chapolin, or otherwise
Chapolin.
known as Eduardo Henrique. So we're getting another two first names main event, by the way, at LFA. And I'm sorry, what did you say Cody's nickname was?
Big ass.
You can't just gloss over that. You can't just, you try to slide that one under the fence. I was like, excuse me.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
when you said that, you called him Cody Big Ass Davis. You said featherweight, and then you laughed, and I was like, all right, he's got to say light heavyweight or heavyweight, and then you actually dropped 2 weight classes after the nickname. I was
No,
stunned.
he's
You
a
had me shocked,
flyweight.
Casey.
Yeah.
He's a flyweight name. Do I want to know the origin of this nickname?
You just look at the man. I think he's 5'4" and he's got a big one.
I don't feel comfortable.
Tune
I
in.
don't, I don't know him, but yeah.
Find
If
out.
you want to know why,
But watch him. He's exciting. He's just all action, and there's absolutely zero reason he is not in the big show. But he's fighting tonight, and yeah. So check it out after, of course, or during, or have 2 TVs while you watch the Bellator card to see the number 1 in my ranking. I feel the best bantamweight and the best welterweight are fighting tonight in the world.
Yeah, LFA's got some good prospects right now. They got a couple. He's one. Isaac Thompson's another guy that I'm very excited about. They got a lot of good ones. There's a lot of good ones. All right, you can hit the music, Casey. I think we have done our part. We will be back tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. Eastern for the People's Pre-Fight Show. And look, we're all MMA fans at the end of the day. We could be tough. We could be tough graders, but if this is the final Bellator event, let's all enjoy it for what it is. It's a damn good card. I mean, it's really going to be tough to beat. We got the 2 title fights, Amosov Jackson. We got Pettis Mix. We got Stott Sabatello 2. AJ freaking McKee is back against Sidney Outlaw. Patricky Pitbull versus Alexander Shabley. Shabley might be one of the 5 best lightweights in the world right now.
He may be.
Samiko Inaba is
Oh,
a star in the making. She's fighting on this card as well against Denise Keelholtz. Archie Colgan on the card. A lot of up and coming prospects. A lot of people. Cody Law, Ramazan Kurmagomedov.
Kerry
Be a good one.
Taylor Melendez.
Yep. Kerry Taylor Melendez back. Yeah, should be. Timur Kizriev is on the card. Like, there's a lot to like here. So let's just enjoy it. Let's send Bellator out with the bang, everybody. For AK, for Jose, for Casey, I am Mike Heck. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the fights tonight, everybody.
Bye, Jose. Say bye.